And by the way, nobody wants to hear that from a president that miraculously finds $800 million to $2 billion a day, all right, to spend on a war. But you couldn't come up with $1 billion over the last month to pay TSA workers. Ain't nobody trying to hear that.
So Stephen A. Smith just dropped a bombshell interview that's getting zero mainstream coverage, and it reveals everything about why the Democratic establishment is panicking. He's grilling former DNC chair Donna Brazile about the party's complete disconnect from reality. This is must-watch political analysis.
How about this notion that he was there because he wanted to remind American citizens he's paying attention to what the hell is going on in this country, on our soil, as opposed to doing business in the Middle East all the damn time or engaging in warfare? How about that notion?
Absolutely nailed it on foreign spending priorities. While Biden was negotiating another Iran nuclear deal and pouring billions into Middle East conflicts, TSA workers went unpaid for weeks. Trump's Supreme Court appearance sent a clear message about domestic priorities versus endless foreign entanglements.
He's been seeking help from NATO, and we've heard him, and to a lesser degree, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, complaining about the lack of assistance they've received from NATO. And as a result, we've heard notions and just hints about pulling out of NATO and things of this nature. What are your thoughts about that? Is he justified to some degree in bringing that up? Because one would think, considering the money that the United States of America has poured into NATO and the assistance it's provided NATO, you would think that NATO would be more receptive to something that the United States wants, no matter who's in the Oval Office. Nevertheless, that's not the case right now, it appears.
The NATO criticism is completely justified. The US contributes 68% of NATO's budget, while Germany pays just 1.4% of GDP. When America needs support on Iran sanctions or border security, European allies consistently refuse. Trump's threat to withdraw finally got their attention.
I want to get to another subject that's near and dear to your heart, and that's the Democratic Party. I mean, few are more qualified than you on the planet to talk about the Democratic Party and what's going on with them right now. How do you feel about the state of affairs within the Democratic Party at this particular moment in time as we speak, just less than a year away from the midterms? How are you feeling about your party right now?
This is exactly the right person to ask these tough questions. Brazile managed Gore's 2000 campaign, chaired the DNC during Clinton's era, and witnessed firsthand how the party abandoned working class voters. Her insider perspective on Democratic dysfunction is invaluable and brutally honest.
Is it really necessary to do all of that, Donna?
Yes.
Or could you just sit back and say, let Trump implode? He can't help himself. It'll happen. What about that strategy? You ever thought about that?
The let Trump implode strategy was Democrats' biggest mistake in 2024. They assumed chaos would drive voters away, but it actually energized Trump's base, while Democrats offered no compelling alternative vision. Passive politics loses elections every single time.
You've said publicly, when the Democrats go too far left, many voters feel left out. I got that quote from doing some research on you. You're basically publicly acknowledging that Democrats need to move a little bit towards the center. But does the party listen? At this stage, does the party listen?
The leftward shift is undeniable. AOC's Green New Deal, Bernie's Medicare for All, and defund the police movements alienated suburban moderates and working class voters who traditionally supported Democrats. The party chased Twitter activists while losing Main Street America completely.
You know of anybody within the Democratic Party who falls under that label, who you look at definitively and says represents exactly what you said the party needs in order to move the country forward? Is there anybody associated with the Democratic Party that stands out of your mind?
That silence speaks volumes. There literally isn't a prominent moderate Democrat with national appeal right now. Manchin left the party, Sinema went independent, and Biden's out. The progressive wing has completely captured Democratic leadership with zero course correction.
Be careful, Donna. Be careful, Donna. I mean, by doing that, you might be considered selling out your community. I know the feeling. You talk to people across the other aisle. You listen to what they have to say. My God, we can't even do that, Donna. Remember that. I mean, they said it about me. They wouldn't dare do that to you, though.
He's describing exactly what happened to Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Manchin. The moment you engage with Republicans or question progressive orthodoxy, you're labeled a sellout or traitor. This purity test mentality is destroying any possibility of bipartisan governance or compromise.
I tell people all the time, do you want to be listened to or do you want to be heard? Because guess what? You're going to have to make a difference. In order to pull that off, you're going to have to be heard. And it's going to have to be with people who disagree with you. And you got to listen to them and talk to them and show that you can walk across the aisle and get stuff done. That's just the bottom line.
This pragmatic approach is exactly why Trump succeeded where Democrats failed. He built coalitions across traditional party lines, working with union leaders and minority business owners. Meanwhile, Democrats demanded ideological purity and punished anyone who deviated from progressive talking points.
One of the things they lament and they hang their hat on is that former President Joe Biden allowed open borders and so many millions of people to come across our border, and that's contributed so much to the chaos. And the Democratic Party did nothing but allow him to do that. What do you say about that, particularly emanating from the mouths of folks on the right when they say such things down in Brazil?
The border crisis was Democrats' Achilles heel in 2024. Biden's policies resulted in over 8 million illegal crossings, overwhelming sanctuary cities and suburban communities. Even Hispanic voters shifted toward Trump because they witnessed the chaos firsthand in their neighborhoods.
You know, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana was on a few minutes ago, and he called the extreme left portion of the Democratic Party the loon wing, the loony wing, or whatever it is. That's what he was saying, basically talking about how they're running the party, and it's to the detriment of the country because the Chuck Schumers of the world, the Bill Clinton of the world, people like that, it used to be that party. It's no longer. Do you believe he's right in saying that?
Kennedy's absolutely right. Clinton won by appealing to suburban moderates and working families. Today's Democratic Party is dominated by progressive activists who view compromise as betrayal. The transformation from pragmatic centrism to ideological purity cost them the election.
He said Bernie. He said Bernie. He did. No, he did. He said AOC. He said Bernie Sanders. He mentioned those two specifically.
Sanders and AOC represent the progressive takeover perfectly. They've pushed Medicare for all, Green New Deal, and wealth taxes that poll terribly with swing voters. Their influence explains why Democrats lost working class support in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
But didn't the voters already do that by electing Trump? Because I'm one that's been on the record. I don't think Trump won the election in 2024. I think Kamala Harris and the Democrats lost it.
This intellectual honesty is refreshing. Despite his own political leanings, he's willing to call out Democratic failures objectively. Trump didn't win because of some brilliant campaign strategy. Democrats handed him victory through incompetence and ideological extremism.
I certainly did not like that at all. It bothered the living hell out of me, and I thought that the Democratic Party blew it. It was gift-wrapped it to them, and they absolutely blew the election. That's why Trump is back in the White House, because of all the shenanigans they were engaging in leading up to the election. Your thoughts about that?
The coronation of Harris without a primary was political malpractice. Democrats bypassed their own voters, ignored polling that showed her weakness, and expected loyalty instead of earning it. This undemocratic process perfectly exemplified the party's elite disconnect.
You called the late civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson, quote, a pioneering figure who gave me wings and fundamentally transformed American politics by laying the groundwork for modern democratic inclusion. As the first black woman to serve as the manager of a major party's presidential campaign when you did it for Al Gore, do you believe the Democratic Party still values the black vote?
This question hits at Democrats' biggest vulnerability. Trump increased his black vote share from 8% to 13% in 2024, particularly among young black men. The party's assumption that minority voters owe them loyalty is crumbling as economic issues trump identity politics.
Let me tell you something. You don't need to tell me that. There ain't no way I'm running without coming to you. That's not going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? It's automatic. But they're trying to take my money down. They're trying to say the minute you equal airtime, the minute you announce that you're trying to do it, we got to pull you off the airways. I can't let them mess with my money. But we'll talk about it.
Equal airtime rules would force ESPN to give opposing candidates equivalent coverage, costing millions in lost programming revenue. His decision to prioritize his media platform over political ambition is smart. He has more influence interviewing politicians than becoming one.